Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily presented by eBay. I'm Dave DuFour here with Zena, Keita, and Law Murray for our Western Conference preview. We've done all 30 teams. Now we're going to tell you who's going to win the West. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, guys. Welcome back. Season starts next week.
What's up, Dave?
We're back to work.
We are back to work. We're in the trenches again.
Law Murray and Zena, by the way, just never quit working all summer. Zena, obviously, just finishing up the WNBA season with on no off season. And Law, every summer you do the video series where you kind of get me fired up for the next season. So you just can't stop working.
I mean, it's not work when you like what you do. And I love what I do. So I'm happy that my public service to myself is also extended to you, Dave.
I appreciate you, man. As well, as you guys may know, Law covers the Clippers for us over at The Athletic. He's also going to be doing more Lakers coverage because that team, and we're about to talk about them here in the Western Conference preview. I think that team is, with Luka and LeBron on the squad, they need a little bit more attention, but I actually think that team might be pretty good this year. So it's going to be cool to have Law covering them. Guys, let's jump right in. And, when we were trying to figure out how to do this, we didn't just want to talk about the teams. We just did that for the last month, right? Like we know these teams pretty well. I think I want to talk about how this all plays out in the West. And in the NBA, having the best player, on your team tends to help you be a better team. And out West, they have all the talent. All of the top players in the league are out West. This is why if Giannis gets traded, he cannot go to a Western Conference team. Got to keep some of that talent in the East. Zena, who are your top 5 players out West? I mean, I don't want to throw the spotlight on you immediately, but it feels like we're probably going to have a universal top 3, if I'm guessing right.
Yeah, I'm, Nikola Jokic, Denver Nuggets, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Luka Doncic, Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I also included some younger talent in Anthony Edwards and Victor Wembanyama to round out my top 5.
Wow. Victor Wembanyama, top 5 in the West. Law, what do you think about that one?
Okay, so I got 4 of Zena's 5. So,
I knew the Victor one would be a toss-up, so and I'm ready to hear what you guys' thoughts are.
And that's my flip. I'm going to go. I mean, Shai is the reigning everything, scoring champion, MVP, Finals MVP, and Jokic had arguably his best season. Didn't result in an MVP award. Luka has everything to get back after how last year went. And Anthony Edwards is the most likely guy to challenge for a spot on the MVP ballot. Wemby, I'm not putting there yet. I just feel like Stephen Curry, what we saw from him last year, he still strikes the fear of God into a lot of these coaches' hearts. And he is, for me, he's that guy. And I wasn't considering Wemby in top 5. I was thinking of Kevin Durant. But I feel like I got to put Steph in there because you can remember what Steph did in the playoffs this past spring. I don't think you can remember anything Kevin Durant did in the playoffs for at least a couple of years.
I tend to agree with your list, Law. I didn't want to just come out here and be the Steph homer that I am, but
that's what I was trying to avoid, Dave.
I know you were.
That's exactly what I was trying to avoid.
Your efforts are appreciated, Zena.
I would say this though: Wemby in the top 5 in the West, though, it's not really that hot of a take. It's a projection, and there's a great chance that by the end of this season, I mean, by mid-season, we've been watching him in the preseason, and he looks ridiculous. We know what his, or at least the theoretical ceiling of all the stuff that he brings to the table. I don't think that that's crazy by any stretch. I think that for sure at the end of the season, we're all going to feel this way. I mean, Law, we talked a little bit about MVP earlier in the week. I mean, there's a world in which Wemby is in the MVP mix.
That San Antonio Spurs team needs Wemby to be really, really good to survive even the bottom 5 of the West. Like, he needs to be available. He needs to be great on both ends of the floor. We know what his defensive impact is. And for Wemby, it's a matter of cleaning up the offense and being the hub of everything that San Antonio does. This is Mitch Johnson's first training camp. This time last year, everyone was thinking that it was going to be, Greg Popovich coaching Chris Paul. Things really got off track in a hurry for San Antonio. And so that gives Wemby an opportunity to show some things that he hasn't shown. And if he has the kind of season that his ceiling projects him to have, then he'll absolutely be in that conversation. But the key is he's got to actually be available and actually produce and do it.
Now, I got a question for you guys.
Oh, go ahead.
Because, of course, the Steph Curry conversation for me was like, okay, I'm looking at the top 5 I chose. Nikola Jokic, Luka, Shea, Ant, and Wemby. And we're seeing the top 5 players in the West, in my list at least, really show up on both sides of the ball.
Right.
Like there's activity on both sides of the ball, particularly the Wemby aspect of, averaging a double-double, 23 and 11, also top in the league in stocks. That for me is enough to show both sides of the ball. Now, the veterans that I was thinking about, because we've seen what Kawhi Leonard's been doing in this preseason. Right? We know what Steph Curry is capable of. We know what LeBron is capable of. But again, these are gentlemen that are on the older side. And I don't know if they can provide that activity on both sides of the ball in the way that these 5 can. And that's what I'm trying to see when you talk about the top 5 players, best players. I'm now looking at a balanced attack. Are you really great and striking the fear of God in people offensively? And also really helpful on defense. I mean, Ant Edwards is a dog on defense.
Yeah.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a dog on defense. Nikola Jokic, an unbelievable rim protector. Obviously, we know what Wemby does. And Luka gets his hands in there. Like the deflections are there. So that's what made me go, So my question is, if we are looking at the older generation, include Kevin Durant, Steph, LeBron, who would you guys have out of that group?
Oh, how would we rank them?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty easy to me. I'd go Steph. God. Well, we got to see what LeBron looks like because, going into a season with an injury is a first.
Especially that injury.
That injury, right. It's kind of an old man injury. So, but Kevin Durant is still, again, he rolls out of bed and he can give you 30 a night.
Right.
So it just, I think that he is going to age pretty well. I mean, it's probably like a Dirk Nowitzki style aging curve with him where he can, shoot jumpers until he's in his 40s. Obviously Steph's degree of difficulty is very high. Okay. I'm curious. I want to swing this to the top because the bottom of the 5, that's where the debate is. But what about the top? Jokic is kind of the guy that we all say is the best in the world and has been. I mean, well, you just mentioned he had his best season and didn't win MVP because Shea won. What would Shea have to do to overtake Jokic as the best player in the world? Does he have a chance? I mean, could Luka even maybe leapfrog Shea and Jokic this season? Like, what does that look like?
I think all those guys have very, very clear weaknesses despite how great they are. Zena, I'm not going to co-sign Nikola Jokic's rim protection. Like that team, I'm very interested to see how Denver defends this year. They were a bad defense last year, like point blank. Like what I give Jokic credit for defensively is how great his hands are. And if you do miss a shot against Denver, I mean, the rebounding is, at least when Jokic is on the floor, is really good. But I'm very interested to see, especially with a new coaching staff, how Denver is going to go about defending better. And I just saw Denver Sunday night at Intuit Dome. They look like they're going to try and beat the hell out of teams. Like they look like they're just going to be very aggressive, ball pressure, and that includes Nikola. That is also going to put them in positions where they're going to give up a crazy amount of good looks when they don't get steals. But I think they're going to be very aggressive. I look at a guy like Shea. His clear weakness is not as defined as Nikola or Luka. Luka, we've been talking about his lack of defensive intensity for pretty much his entire career. Shea plays on the top defense in basketball, so that's not his issue. With Shea, it's a matter of how good is that pull-up three? how consistent can it be? It's great for him that he's so good in the mid range, that he gets to the line at a high rate and makes his free throws, that he's able to just, like a good route runner in football, like not the biggest, not the fastest, but that twitch gets him open, right? It separates. That's Shea's superpower. But there's a world in which Shea can be that more confident with the pull-up three. He takes a specific pull-up three when he does that little half jab and then he goes and rises up. That's his comfort three. That's like LeBron when he stares at his hand basically and pulls up on the left side, the strive for greatness three. Shea needs to get more comfortable with that pull-up three and more comfortable in the playoff setting. When that thing rises, if that thing ever approaches 40%, that's when Shea can claim that he is an even more unstoppable force than even Nikola Jokic.
See, that's the thing with Luka, right? Luka it's a little bit of Steph, but with the ball in his hands, where he's scary at 35 feet and in, and he's scary in multiple ways. You try to scheme to guard Luka Doncic, and I will just tell you guys, it is a nightmare experience. You're trying to decide: do you push him right? Do you push him left? Right? So he's a better shooter going left. He's a really good shooter, and he's a better passer going right, and he's a really great passer. And so I think that when you look at what they've done around him, Ayton, I'm a believer that that's going to work out. I still think they got to add some shooting. But if Luka defends at all this year, and remember, we're talking skinny Luka now, motivated Luka, insulted Luka from last year, right? Like, if he defends at all, I think that there's a world where we're talking about Luka as the best player in the world too. They have to win, obviously, and he'll have to put up numbers. But he's got the skill for it. It's not a talent issue with him. I think it's just a effort all the time on the other side of the ball and winning. You got to figure that out. Okay, so back to the Wembanyama thing, because I do think this is interesting. Is he the most likely guy to break into this sort of conversation to be a top 10 player after this season, a top 5 in the West? Is he the most likely guy in the West?
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously, Zena, yeah.
Yeah, I think we were already seeing the evidence of it early on. Like the game got slow to him. It was already slow to him. I would even say, having seen him that very first Summer League game, which he was not good in, you could already see that the movement, the way that he's evaluating the game, the way that he's adjusting in real time, like he was already doing that. My thing is for Victor is he's finally going to have a year of full health, and he's going to have some talent around him. He's got a crazy packed backcourt, all of which want to play the pick and roll game with him. We've already seen, Dylan Harper and him have a great preseason, particularly Utah. I feel bad that they had to be the stage to already show us what they're capable of doing in terms of what the Spurs are trying to do with the pick and roll game, running in transition. But you have Dylan Harper that can play with him. You've got De'Aaron Fox that obviously is going to be able to run the floor with him. I don't know what the shooting is going to look like around Victor Wembanyama, but remember, Victor Wembanyama put up more threes last year than he did 2-pointers. So this is an opportunity for him to show off his stretch 5 capability. He's going to have to be really good, as Law said. And what happens in those cases is the same thing that we see with Luka. It's the same thing that we've seen with LeBron. It's the same thing we've seen with Steph. When you are that required, greatness has to come out. Like, you've got to elevate your game. You've got to be able to push forward everyone around you. And I think that that's why Victor Wembanyama, knowing what's at stake, knowing that they've got all these pieces around him now, and moves have been made to try and elevate the Spurs, I absolutely think that he's going to break into this conversation out of, if not out of just sheer skill development, out of necessity and needing to.
Law, who do you think is going to break out in the West? Like, what player is going to come out of nowhere and maybe not be top 5, in the West, or top 10 in the NBA, but like, who's going to surprise us this year? Who's going to be the guy?
Well, there's going to be a cheap pick, and then there's a guy that I don't even know if he's 100% starting based on this preseason. I think everyone's on him in, like Zena. I'm pretty sure.
We're all,
like, he's probably your easiest, most improved player candidate right now. It's year 3, so it's not as frowned upon to consider him. And I mean, he's not an all-star yet. So he's in position, especially with Fred VanVleet's ACL injury, to be everything that you thought he'd be coming out of overtime elite. as a playmaker who didn't need to shoot it great. But if that dude does shoot it competently, watch out, because he has every other tool. Like someone's got to get the ball to Şengün. Someone's got to get the ball to Kevin Durant. And Reed Shepherd is just going to hope to, tread water, after the rookie season he had. He's got to show that he's a viable rotation player in the NBA. Amen showed a lot last year. He was so good that they didn't have Jabari Smith Jr. go back to the starting lineup once Jabari got healthy mid-season. So that's the easy breakout candidate. The one guy that I feel like I just hope Portland does the right thing here based off of how they finished last season is Zena Avdia. Like, that dude put up crazy numbers once they got Simons, Ayton, and Jeremy Grant out the paint. They just were like, built the whole thing out of Deni Avdia and just let him cook. And that guy gets to the free throw line at a high rate. I love those players because fouls are not just about the grift, It's not about just foul merchantry. You got to have talent and a physical advantage built in to have pro defenders in pro schemes foul you to the point where you're getting there as often, double-digit times a game as often as you might never get there at all. Deni Avdia as a playmaker, as a shot creator, and with his size to go along with that skill, and the fact that he is willing to defend. He spent his whole career in Washington and then the first half of Portland trying to show that he can defend at a respectable level. Like, that guy is really good. It took a while, but that's what you talk about when you talk about breakout guys. I just hope Portland doesn't mess around and bring him off the bench to start the year. He's your best player, probably.
Zena, you got any breakout candidates for this season?
The funny thing is that Law just laid out both of mine. I mean, of course, we've been talking about Amen Thompson. The Fred VanVleet injury is going to put him in a position in which he can be a ball handler, offensive attention taker. And we know his athleticism. We also know that like the growth, like propulsion of Amen Thompson and even his brother Asar, but we've just seen how quickly they've been able to adjust within season. So I already know he's probably been working on, in the offseason on his shot. I didn't see much of that during the preseason on display, but guess what hasn't dropped? His defense, his athleticism. And that's just going to continue to be a boon for him. Now, when it comes to Deni Avdia, this is exactly what I was thinking, because I was like, when I think about breakout star, I'm thinking about who's putting up 30 points a night. And we're like, whoa, who's that? Like, wait, what's going on? And last year, Deni Avdia put up 30 to 40 points 8 times last year, casually. And these were the nights that Anthony Simons wasn't playing, or, DeAndre Ayton wasn't playing. And guess what? Both of them are gone. Now the focal point is on Deni Avdia. He can do as he pleases. And we've got Scoot Henderson starting the season out. Obviously there's Drew Holiday is going to be in the mix, obviously a little bit older, but he's going to be setting up Deni. Denny's going to get to do what he wants in Portland. And I just feel like that's going to be opportunities for buckets on buckets on buckets. And there's one more that's actually on the Rockets as well. And I don't know if I could count it as a breakout, but I think like Alperen Şengün could have a breakout season as well, especially when you've got the space to operate, because the Kevin Durant might be on the floor with you, taking up some attention. I absolutely think that Alperen Şengün is also in that category too.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially, he was so good in Eurobasket. His body looks pretty good, right? Like, and a lot of young guys do see, the breakout potential sometimes is that get your body straight, right? Like we're hoping for that with Zion and Luka. To me, I think a guy that is probably overlooked, if you're thinking this way, because we watched him win a championship, Chet Holmgren has a real chance to feel like we're going to feel differently about him, I think, at the end of the season. He missed half of last year, but that playoff run that he had defensively was amazing. I think he'll be in the mix for Defensive Player of the Year this year. Probably have a shot at being an all-star. And Law, I know you love Chet, but big thing I want to see out of Chet this year is way more confidence shooting that three. I want to see him get it up fast, man. Like, that's the thing that holds him back, that long load up time. Similar to what you were saying with Shea, right? That one little tweak, if he just gets it up fast and if he can hit it 35, 36%, right? Like league average, all of a sudden it changes the game for them, and their offense gets so much easier to create. Everything gets easier for J-Dub and for Shea. But I think Chet is a guy who's going to break out this season.
You know, the interesting thing about the OKC Thunder, they won a championship. They went through their playoff run, and J-Dub was a 30% three-point shooter in the playoffs. Shea was a 28% three-point shooter in the playoffs. Chet was just under 30% in the playoffs. They are better shooters and players than that. J-Dub had the best excuse. Dude is playing with a torn ligament in his wrist.
Right.
And I wonder if he'll be ready for ring night in a week. But, you know, I outlined Shea. It's like Shea was getting three-pointers blocked by Miles Turner. Like, but that guy also he played more playoff games, or he played the full playoffs, but he missed 50 games. I saw that dude drop to the floor in November. I was there for that in Oklahoma City, and that was a scary moment. You know, that was a weird injury, a very rare injury. He was able to make it back. And when he came back, it was a different team. He was playing with Isaiah Hartenstein. That is something where, you know, OKC won a lot of games without having the roster that they thought that they were going to have for the majority of the season. So the opportunity, I mean, Chet is the most physically talented guy on that team. Again, I talked about Shea and how he doesn't have special, you know, obvious physical traits, you know, as far as the size and the speed and the vertical or any of that. That dude Shed is 7 feet tall with handles. And I want to see him weaponize that. It's the same thing with Wemby. I want to see these guys weaponize their skill to put more pressure on the defenses that they are facing. And I know Wemby shoots it from 35 feet.
That's why Chet has to shoot it, right? Right. This is why he's got to shoot it, because he needs the defenders to come out and close out so that he can attack and put the ball on the ground. We're seeing some of that. I mean, we saw some of that from him last year. We saw some of it in the playoffs. With Wemby, what we've seen from him in the preseason doing that, we see the extra meat that he's got on his body. You know, he's dropping his shoulder now. I don't know if Chet will ever have that, but he's got good touch, and especially driving to the basket. I think that if the shot starts to drop and those defenders have to come out, it's I mean, he's an all-star, right? Like that's the difference. Like he will score at a much higher rate. Anybody else you guys got before we go to break? Nobody outside of the box.
That was already scraping it. I just feel like a lot of these guys have to either have the ball or have a particular role. And the thing with the West is it's a lot of guys that we know, you know, like so many of these. Go. What's your one more, Zena?
Go ahead, Zena.
Austin Reeves. And the main reason why is because one, reading about, you know, LeBron being out, and we don't know how long he's going to be out. Mm-hmm. Luka can't play 48 minutes.
Right.
And the time that he's going to be off the floor, it's going to be Austin Reeves that's going to have to step up and be the offensive production for this team. And he's capable of it. We've seen him do it. And I think he has the confidence to do it. He has the swagger to do it. He obviously has the skill to do it. But he could potentially, who knows what happens with LeBron, especially with them now saying, and this is what I was talking about when I was reading about, they're taking their time with getting him back on the floor.
Right.
So who knows how long that's going to take? That could now be a duo, or at least, you know, a second unit leader for the Lakers that catapults him into, I don't know, more production than we've ever seen out of Austin Reeves.
Oh yeah, he's going to be the number 2 option on that team while LeBron's out for sure. And we know how much Luka draws doubles teams and how much attention he draws. I think that's a good call. I mean, Austin Reeves is about to make some money this season is the real thing. And the Lakers probably aren't going to be too.
That's fast.
Yeah, they're not going to be too pumped next summer. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to try to figure out who's going to win the West. Okay, guys, so we know that the Utah Jazz not going to make the playoffs. I don't even know if they're going to win 20 games, to be honest with you. It's probably going to be another rough season, but at least there's a silver lining that they got a little bit of young talent there. Who outside of the Jazz, guys, is going to miss the play-in? Who are going to be the other teams sitting at home when the playoffs start?
Law, I started with my best 5, so you start with this one.
There you go, Law.
I want to see if I tie up with you.
Well, to be clear, I do have Utah 15.
I think
These next four,
yes.
these next four were not easy for me to put together, but I'm going to just say Phoenix, New Orleans, Portland, and Dallas.
Wow. Dallas.
Oh, Dallas.
Okay. Now, Dallas is, I will say this, for a team that does not have much ball handling at all, at least that's how I felt coming into training camp. I have changed my opinion on the Mavericks, maybe the most of the handful of teams that are struggling to find creation. Cooper Flagg looks like he's going to be able to handle and distribute day one in the NBA. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think that was going to be a thing. Number two, Dallas is huge. That is it's a massive advantage to be as big as they are. I mean, their 4-5 rotation is kind of insane. And even without saying Cooper Flagg's going to be in the 4-5 mix, they are really big. I think that there's an argument to be made. You can big your way into the play-in. You know, you rebound everything. Ooh. They're going to have a good defense. D'Angelo Russell, if he's good enough, I don't know. Man, wow, that's tough.
It is tough.
Okay, well, we got to hear your breakdown. Why? I think everything. So I am very similar to you, 3 out of 4. So similar to you were to my best 5. But the Dallas aspect in the not making the play-in, break it down.
For one, I don't think Kyrie's coming back.
Definitely.
If he does come back, you're not getting all-star Kyrie. I think you're getting how can I play and load manage Kyrie. I'm not planning on Kyrie Irving figuring significantly into the success of his team. That's one. I think the guard play is not good. Like I'm not confident. And, it's about a matter of D'Lo is your one true guard who is trustworthy handling the basketball. His backup is Jaden Hardy to start the season. Jaden Hardy's a shot first guy. You're going to be asking Cooper Flagg to do a lot, and I think he's capable of it. This is not a Cooper Flagg assessment; it's the Dallas Mavericks assessment. And because they have Cooper Flagg, I think there's a real elephant in the room, and that is they need to get off of Anthony Davis sooner rather than later. I just feel like the best position for Cooper Flagg is to play the 4, and then AD is taking up that space. Even if AD was at the 5, it would be like, okay, you still should probably think about the asset here. Anthony Davis is getting, he is on the other side of 30 now, injury prone, et cetera. But I feel like spacing will be an issue. I feel like ball handling will be an issue. And I feel like their perimeter defense is going to be an issue. I watched Dallas try and defend last year with AD playing super motivated with a bunch of the guys who they're going to have in their rotation. And they got lit up by certain teams. That Memphis Grizzlies team that got absolutely road smacked by the Thunder had no problem with that same Mavericks team in the play-in tournament. I just feel like there's a lot of ways where this thing goes south for Dallas. And that's really what it's going to take. There's going to be a good team that doesn't make the play-in tournament, at least a good team on paper, but it's going to take some extenuating circumstances that sends their season sideways. I think Dallas is a lot more vulnerable than any of these other teams based on who's already hurt and who might likely be hurt based off of some of the guys on their team.
Yeah, now that's a great call, actually, because the Anthony Davis thing is the injuries are always something you have to think about. He's coming into the season off of an eye surgery and 15 pounds heavy in camp, which is to me that's a bad sign, bad idea, whatever justification anyone gives for it. I like that take of moving off Anthony Davis. I actually felt that way when they won the lottery. You can have Cooper Flagg and Derek Lively is a pretty good start to a rebuild. If that's where you're at. And it makes a lot more sense from a fit standpoint, especially because I think Derek Lively, we may not see it this year. I think he's got the ability to stretch the floor competently. And so now all of a sudden, now you've got a 4-5 combination that not only can defend and rebound, but they can do some stuff on the offensive side too. So I like that take. Maybe that'll happen this year. I don't know. Maybe Anthony Davis is the biggest name move this season, and all of a sudden you have a whole different thing happening in Dallas. Zena, you said that was the only team that you had the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Who did you have missing?
I got Sacramento Kings.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I am with you, Zena. I do not believe in anything they are doing.
The stagnation, they haven't moved anyone onto this team or off this team that is going to make a difference. Yes, I'm happy that Dennis Schroeder has found once again a new team to join, but I don't think that that's going to be enough. One, the defensive aspect. I mean, they're not good defensively. They don't have closers in the way that I know we have DeMar DeRozan, we have Zach LaVine, don't get me wrong, but we don't have closers in the sense that winners, I guess, that can win significant games that will count towards, trying to get to games that mean something towards the end of the season. Yeah. I don't see that in DeMar DeRozan. I don't see that in Zach LaVine. Domantas Sabonis, like there's been nothing that has changed about the rotational depth that to me makes me feel like, oh, the Kings are going to be the Kangs this year. Right. I'm just not moved by them. Unfortunately, I'm
with you. Law, like that team is kind of like to call it a mess isn't even fair, right? It's a odd amalgamation of players. Sabonis sets this ceiling for them that they were never going to overcome. And then they somehow made themselves even more weird with the LaVine and DeRozan additions over the last couple of years. And now, Malik Monk is essentially sidelined. I don't know. It's a weird team. I don't believe in them at all.
Murray sidelined too.
I don't believe in them at all.
Yeah, I think that now I do have the Kings and the Grizzlies missing the playoffs. So
now the Grizzlies, that's an interesting one because I was going to ask you, Law, is Ty Jerome good enough if Ja misses a bunch of time?
Man, it's going to be Ty Jerome, Scottie Pippen Jr. They're going to be different offensively this year. I just feel like they went the extreme in terms of not having any pick and roll. And I think it was great to start the year. They took teams by surprise. Like that Grizzlies team was number 2 in the West for a good part of the early start of the season. And then they just forgot how to beat good teams and they got off of Taylor. And I just, Ty Jerome is coming from the team that ran the most pick and roll. And that was, and Ty Jerome was a big part of that because he was so efficient playing that way. I'm interested to see what Memphis does. Like Memphis has a lot of injuries right now, as they usually do, but they also have a lot of players who are going to be useful. And I wonder how much that surprises teams. And I am pretty confident about who I feel like will miss the playoffs. Like I think Memphis is out, Sacramento's out. The thing with Sacramento, they're a weird team and they don't make any damn sense whatsoever. But they have a bunch of dudes who are going to show up every night and score points, and I think that might mean something. Like Sacramento is going to be a frustrating team because you saw with Doug Christie, how many 5-game win streaks, 5-game losing streaks that they have. Like the Kings are they're going to look like how the Chicago Bulls look with Zach and DeMar on the team, right down to the play-in tournament loss. The only difference is they won't be losing to the Miami Heat. That's it. That's it.
I think with Memphis, I'm intrigued what's going to happen with Memphis because I do think that Ty Jerome is now going to have a very loose leash to go off and score in the way that we would see him in clutch moments for Cleveland and come in, when Donovan or Darius Garland had to sit down and put up buckets in bunches, right? So now he has the free will to kind of do that. And we'll see how Iyasala uses him. But what I liked about Memphis, Law, we were talking about last year when they were like number 2, they were running. They were chaos on the floor, right? Like you could not figure out where Ja Morant, how far into the paint he was going to go, how the Zach Edey, him and pick and roll was going to work, like how everyone was moving around. The biggest thing is they lost Desmond. And so now I'm like, where's that outside shooting? Where's that threat going to come from that allows that pick and roll to evolve, that allows that movement to make sense? And that's where I don't think Ty Jerome is a replacement for. Obviously, he's not supposed to be that replacement. So,
Ty Jerome last year, his off the dribble 3-point shooting was, the best of his career. Desmond Bane, like that's what Memphis is going to miss a lot from Desmond Bane is that he's a gunner. I just am not believing that Ty Jerome off one good season is going to go and be this person that can be a steady hand for Memphis. He's going to go play with worse players, and he's playing in a more competitive conference. And so, what he did in Cleveland last year, it's one season, small sample size for me. And so I just am not necessarily a believer that that's going to work out. And look, I would say this: if you're Memphis and you were going to have a down year and be in the lottery, this might be the year to do it, because you don't have the pieces to compete on paper, period. Right? Like, maybe they have a crazy season that we don't expect, but they did just on purpose take a step back by trading Desmond Bane for those draft picks. So I wouldn't be shocked, if they wind up missing the playoffs. Okay, so we talked about the bottom five. Let's talk about the top five. OKC just won the title. They won 68 games, and we all kind of feel like they might be better this year. They're definitely coming into the season. They're going to be healthier, we assume, because they were pretty unhealthy last year, all things considered. Denver improved, and they pushed OKC to 7 games in the conference finals last year. I'm assuming we all agree those are the top 2 teams in the West.
I agree with OKC being 1. I do not. Denver's in my
Denver.
top 5, but they're not.
Wow.
Okay.
Law,
wait.
I got a question for you, Law. You just said that you saw Denver play at Intuit Dome against the Clippers. I'm assuming this was the game where they kept the starters in basically till the fourth quarter almost.
Well, both teams definitely punted the fourth quarter, but Denver had their starters in to begin the third. They got Jokic out pretty quick.
It was a battle between Denver and the Clippers the other night in preseason.
Zena was texting about this game, by the way.
And I was like, they weren't playing in the fourth quarter, but they kept them in significantly through the third. And I was like, oh, they're actually playing for a real regular season game right now. It was incredibly competitive. And I'm looking like Denver, the fact that you are still in the throes of it with the Clippers makes me a little bit, I don't know. I question just how much they're going to separate themselves in that number 1, that number 2 position. So I'm with Law. I think that, yes, they're definitely going to be the top 5 just out of sheer weapons that they have available to them, and the familiarity that they're going to have available to them, the depth that they now have, they've added to their roster. But I'm still looking at the fact that a team like the Houston Rockets was number 2 in the West last year off of sheer effort and just making everyone's
they
night
lost
hell.
Dylan Brooks. I'm
They
lower on their regular
did.
season because Fred VanVleet's out and they lost Dylan Brooks.
That's true.
Those two guys, you want to talk about competing 80 games a season.
Those guys were the culture changers.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. But you get Jabari Smith Jr. now for a full season and he's elevated, right? You get Tyrese and you get the Terror Twins fully terrorized, right? Like ready to fully charged to go terrorize some folks. You get Amen Thompson, another year older, another year more. I just feel like there's still
Is that your 2 seed?
Is
that your 2 seed?
I don't know. But they're
who's your 2 seed?
My 2 seed is right now. I actually did grades and I'm locking this in. The Clippers are my 2 seed.
Wow.
I'm telling you, I was watching that game.
They easily could have made the conference finals last year.
Mm-hmm.
And they
got blown out of that last game, right?
Aspiration aside, they have 11 grown-ass men on their team. No one's going to be asked to do too much. They have the quote-unquote injury protection that Zena, how often do you hear if healthy, I like this team if everything goes perfect? That doesn't exist for these teams. You have to build your team to say, these are our top 5 guys that we want to have in our starting lineup. And these are the next 5 guys who they're going to play every night, probably no matter what. The rest of your team are the protection of your team. They are the floor of your team. When you are missing one of your top 10 players and someone else has to play and be quote unquote important at their job all of a sudden, how good is your team then? And the Clippers they have a built-in guy, no matter who winds up being that 11th guy, who it's they're going to be ready. And so last year we saw a Clippers team that if you saw them before Kawhi came back, they were relying on guys that you were like, forget rotation player. How are they even in the league? And you know what? They were in the playoffs with a playoff rotation of at least one guy who they thought was going to figure prominently. Ben Simmons isn't in the league anymore.
Right.
Like Brook Lopez and John Collins are replacing guys who are not on fully guaranteed standard contracts to date. Chris Paul is another guy. That's a third guy. And then they brought back the guys that they needed to. I don't trust them in the playoffs, but in the regular season, I think they're going to get arguably their highest seed that they've ever gotten under Tyronn Lue.
It's a good take. I like it.
They're just stacked. And also, we're looking at teams that have familiarity, right? And the Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic comparison, obviously, their team has been together, and they brought back Bruce Brown. They have the pieces that have been together to find success. You're looking at this team, Ivica Zubac and James Harden, to me, are like the best guard big duo in the West.
Wow.
Like they to me, their familiarity with each other, how they're able to play off of each other. Ivica Zubac, like I have a lot of respect for Ivica Zubac. He is probably one of my favorite centers. But you've got all of that and a Nick Batum. Watching them, they were huge. You talk about Dallas being big. I mean,
oh yeah,
John Collins was like switching with Brook Lopez out on the perimeter on guarded post screens. Like this is a big team that you're going to have to play in front of, and I'm excited about the Clippers. But I think I think the Clippers, the Rockets, and Denver are like a toss up for my number 2. I would say.
So we've got. We all agree is OKC in some order. OKC, Clippers, Nuggets, Rockets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the Rockets, bro.
You don't have the Rockets in the top 5.
I got a team we haven't talked about at all. My number 3 seed is the Golden State Warriors right now.
What? Okay, they are geriatric. You're going to have to really
sell
me here.
So are the Clippers.
Regular season, man. They are
what number did you
old
put
for the
them
regular
at?
season. 3rd.
I got Golden State 3. I'm looking at here's what I'm looking at.
I ain't mad at it. Let's go.
Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, when they got together, they were significantly more powerful than the team that you saw before they acquired Jimmy. It's the matter of complementary talent and planning for that team to be together from the beginning of the season. And now you have Al Horford, and I don't care if Al starts or not. Like Al keeps himself in good enough shape where he doesn't play the kind of game that you're like worrying if he's going to fall completely off the cliff. Like he's going to shoot threes, he's going to pass, he's going to defend, he's going to stay out the way. He's not going to do anything in the paint, which is huge for them because you have Draymond and Jimmy, 2 guys who can't confidently shoot. Okay, like they're going to shoot, but Jimmy needs to be in the mid range for his jump shots, and Draymond needs all kinds of space to get his 3 off. Like you need a guy now, and you need someone like, I like Quentin Post a lot. I think Quentin Post is Diet Vucevic, which is great considering where you got him in the draft.
The way Quentin Post gets his 3 up, that's how Chet Holmgren needs to get his 3 up.
Like Post could be a breakout guy, by the way. If the Warriors have this good of a season, Post could be a breakout guy.
Yeah, it's like they have the personnel to be powerful for parts of the team. And mind you, the West is not – you saw how the West was last year. Yes, the Rockets were the 2 seed. The Rockets looked a lot closer to the pack than a 2 seed that was, we're on the OKC Thunder. No, OKC
could never trust them in fourth quarters.
Exactly. Right. And that's how the West is for me outside of OKC again. I feel like some order of Clippers, Warriors, Nuggets, Lakers, Rockets, Timberwolves, they're going to be jumped up. Like, yeah, it's 5-6 seeds, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's separated by like 5 games. 2 through 7 might be a 5-game separator.
Yeah.
That's how we have to look at this. The numbers are whatever, but you're going to wake up every week and you're going to have to just throw your cards in the air because they might be all over the place. That's how the West standings are going to be. That's what makes the West fun, is that you can't loaf in there and act like it's the regular season. You can take a night off, because you do that, you'll fall 4 spots. in a week.
I've got Minnesota in my top 5. You know, they've just got guys. Again, Rudy Gobert, that gives you this high floor defensively, right? Julius Randle just offensively gives you a pretty high floor. I feel like this is a team that they've just got enough guys that they can get 50 wins. You know, this is a 50-win team. They've got enough dudes that just kind of gets them in the mix. And they'll be competing to have home court, I think. You know, Anthony Edwards, we talked about him as a top 5 player in the West. I think this is the year that he's probably in the MVP mix, but legitimately in the MVP mix, not too early. You know, it seems like he's going to have the ball in his hands even more because their point guard situation to start the season isn't great. Yeah, that's kind of how I see the West shaking out. Zena, did we kind of cross the same list there, I think?
I think so. I had the Warriors in my top 6. Mm-hmm. Timberwolves were in my top 5.
Yeah.
But I ain't gonna lie, the Lakers, teetering. Like, I really think they're right on the cusp there. I love particularly, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with LeBron. We know the Luka LeBron team is awesome, but I just like what they've done defensively on their perimeter, especially. Like, we're getting Jared Vanderbilt healthy.
Yeah.
Like, that's great for the Lakers. I love the athleticism that they're putting out there. So I feel like the Lakers, it's going to be tough, but Timberwolves, Warriors, Lakers, toss up, I think.
The West, I mean, it's so competitive. There's a lot of really good teams. All right, here's the question, guys. Well, I'm going to give it to you first. Who's coming out of the West?
I got OKC. I just feel like they were really good last year. They got through hell in the playoffs in both conferences. The Nuggets in a 7-game series, the Pacers in a 7-game series. They're young. They care about each other. Care is so much a factor in basketball that we do not talk about. We'll talk about chemistry. We'll talk about adversity. We'll talk about dissension. The drama is what sells. But you see when teams get along, you don't want to talk about that as much. It's not as interesting. You get Draymond Green on the pod saying it's corny that guys go and, surround each other post game after they just beat some team's ass. Like, OKC is going to be that team where the disease of more does not faze them as much as some other teams. I'm not saying they'll win the championship. I don't think I'm ready to say that yet, but I think they get out the West. I just think that they were the rare team that won being really good and have the opportunity to have so much improvement from some of their best players. Look at the Warriors from 10 years ago. Again, I don't think they win 70 games. West is too good for that. And I don't think it's smart to be going all out like that. But they're deep and they have a lot of talent and they still have areas of improvement. I think that's just going to be that's going to mean something in the spring, probably more than the regular season.
I do think they can win 70 games. They just have so many guys and they compete every single night. So I actually think they can win 70 games. Zena, who's coming out of the West?
I'm struggling with this one because Law, you lay out really great arguments. And every time I talk to you, I'm like, well, maybe what I was thinking actually, and I really do like the OKC's pick, particularly because as you were talking about just their guys getting better, like something that we underestimate a lot with OKC is their player development, right? Like we know that that's what they do as an organization really well from their G League team. And even their stars are going to get developed and gain more capability. But you got a year of tape. And there's a difference between being number one in the West and getting through the playoffs and coming out the West. And I think Denver does have the tools. They've got the know-how. They've got the veteranship. And they've got Jokic. And I just feel as if he's not going to allow them to not make it out of the West again.
Not a hot take, Zena. That's me. I'm with Denver. I think that Jokic with these guys, especially, they just improved their team so much. And they already pushed OKC to 7. It's almost impossible now to repeat as champions in the NBA. And Zena, you keep bringing up tape. And this is true. I mean, I think when you watch the way OKC won last year, like that's not the easiest way to score points, right? Like a lot of turnovers, a lot of transition. They were being figured out in the playoffs. And this isn't to say they're not changing things up or going to do things differently. But the thing that made them such an overwhelming force, teams did catch up to. And so I'm curious to see how it looks by the playoffs. And again, if these guys develop not even that much further because they're already really good players, this is OKC, I could see them getting back and repeating. Like they are going to be a problem for years. And this is a team that I think is going to be competitive for a really long time. They're managed so smart and these players are so young. But this feels
Denver
like it's going to be a Jokic year.
Denver lost in the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row in 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is disrespectful for Minnesota to do it to you and then OKC to do it to you right after you won the finals. I feel like there's just the chip is just getting bigger and bigger on their shoulder.
And the thing with Denver, though, the thing with Denver, we remember that these series went 7. We know that they can beat you in games if you sleep. But when they lose bad in the playoffs. OKC destroyed them in games. The year before, Minnesota down on the road to a team that no one gave them a chance to, and they had to that point, biggest comeback in a game 7 ever. You know, Denver has this ceiling because of Jokic, but I'm really just concerned about what the heck does this team do defensively? You have to defend. You have to give yourself a chance.
But to be fair, though, Law, they were particularly bad defensively on the perimeter. Like their paint defense was still in the top third of the league. Like they weren't terribly in the paint. It was just a factor of that they didn't have external powers that be outside.
Well, point of attack is rough for them. Jamal Murray, you can pick on him. And then last year you had MPJ, and I don't know. I think Cam Johnson's going to be a pretty big upgrade there. But I will say this.
You bring Tim Hardaway in. You bring in Bruce Brown.
Yeah.
I feel like I do feel like they shored up a little bit. It's not crazy, but they did help the main part of their defense that got them at 22 in the league. And it was their perimeter mainly defense.
It's a make or break season for Jamal Murray, in my opinion. But that's a different podcast than this one. Okay. Before we get out of here, any hot takes on the West? Are we all too low on the Lakers? Have I been too low on the Warriors?
I think the Lakers are going to be 5th in the West. I don't know if that's a hot take or what. I just feel like they are going to be closer to where they probably should have been last year. The Lakers were 3rd, but to my point about the West being bunched together, the Lakers' point differential was not consummate of a 3rd seed. There was more of a team that was happy to be out of the play-in tournament. And so I think they're headed for an interesting season no matter what happens with LeBron. Luka is going to be on a high. LeBron might be on a low. Zena, you brought up a great point about Austin. Like that team is probably going to just sit there in the middle of things.
Mm-hmm. That's real. That's real.
Well,
I'll tell you the one team I think we're a little too low on. Spurs.
Maybe. We'll see what happens with Wemby. All right, that's going to do it for our Western Conference preview. Thank you to Law Murray for hopping in with us. Guys, go and check him out at The Athletic. For Law Murray and Zena Keita, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for hanging out.